Hey everybody, my name is Shane Cole, and I'm here with Rooted Music to do a bass tutorial for What a Beautiful Name. Throughout this tutorial, I'll be referencing the version of the song that was on the Hillsong Let There Be Light album. And I think to save us some time later on in this tutorial, I'm going to dive into how numbers, commonly referred to as Nashville numbers, will work for this song. So the first thing to note is the song is in the key of D. So I'm just going to walk through the notes in the key of D. So we have D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and then you're back to D. When you're talking about numbers, it's really simple. All you have to do is basically understand the notes in the key signature, and then you just apply a number to each note, starting in 1 and just going up consecutively. So D is 1, 2 is E is 2, F sharp is our 3, G is our 4, A is our 5, B is our 6, C sharp's our 7, and then we're back at D, which is our 1. So when you hear, when you see on a chart, if it's written in numbers and you're playing in the key of D, all those will work. Just as I described. And so another reason I really like this song, and I think it's a really neat song to talk about on bass, is there's a lot of restraint in this song. There's just a lot of moments where the bass is not actually playing any notes. And there's a lot of low information in the recordings. There's like lots of lower frequency synths and pianos and stuff like that. So we actually don't do anything until verse 2. So the intro, the verse, and the first chorus, it's all like keys and vocals, keys, and patty stuff like that. So the bass guitar will drop in on verse 2. And we'll walk through the changes here. So the way I like to describe when to play these notes is I call it playing the changes. So basically every time the chords change, that's the only time we're going to actually hit a note on the bass. So let's walk through those changes on the verse. So it starts with a 1. And then we're going to go, this one moves a little quicker. It goes 4, 6, 5. And then we've got a 6 chord, walk up to the 1, and then a 4 chord, quickly to the 6, and then to the 5. And now here's our chorus. So you noticed I only played basically like whenever the note physically changed was when I plucked a string. Just because we got to like save some momentum for later as the song builds and gets higher in energy. So the second chorus, there's a little more momentum. So if this is your downbeat, the chorus, we're going to play half notes. So 2 of these quarter notes would be a half note. So I'll walk you through the chorus changes, and then I'll show you how often we actually play the notes. So the chorus starts on a 1, then we go to a 5, and then we got a 6, 5, 4, and we're going to go to a 1/3. So you play a 3, 5, and then we got 6, 5, 4. And then we'll tag the end of that chorus, so back to the 6, 4. Now we're going to drop out right here because we are at the instrumental that happens before the bridge. So every version does this part differently, but as I mentioned earlier, we're referencing the Let There Be Light version. So if you count 12 bars, so if this is my quarter note, here's a bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. And you would count that all the way up to 12 full bars. That's the instrumental on this version of the song. Then when the vocal starts, we drop back in on the bass. And this is kind of an interesting thing they do here. Whoever played bass on this, I'm not sure who it was. I'll walk you through the chord changes. On the bridge, we've got a 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 3 chord, and then it alternates from this to 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 5 chord. And you basically just go back and forth. So when he first drops in, it's interesting. He goes, he or she, assuming, I'm not sure who the bass player is, you start up here higher, and they're actually playing eighth notes. So for every quarter note, you double it. Do, 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 like that pattern. So as the bridge starts, as soon as the vocal comes in, you can do a little glissando up to this note if you'd like, but I'm going to play the 4 chord right here, the G right here. And you're just kind of playing lightly, but you want to just try to create some momentum. And eighth notes will feel a little bit like this. So. Down to the 3. And at some point you can kind of get yourself lower, which will help build intensity. So right here on the 5 chord, I'm going to switch to a lower note. Here's the 4. So on and so forth. So then you finish out the pattern. So, after that would be the 4, 5, 6, 5 again. You build into a really, really, really big chorus, final chorus. Well, almost final chorus. And so you'll remember the chorus changes from earlier in the tutorial. One thing that that adds a lot of momentum at this point in the song from the perspective of the bass is now we're locked in with the kick drum. So when the drummer plays his kick drum, every time you hear it on this chorus, the bass player is plucking their note. It just sounds massive and great, lots of energy. So what we're gonna do is I'll walk you through the changes here. So D, A, 6, 5, 4, 1 over 3. Here's the 5, 6, 5, 4, and then we're back. We revisit the bridge here. So 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's a 5. Back into a chorus. And then it's a little different pattern here. 5 chord, 6, 5, 4. Here's our 3, 5, 6, 5, 4. We tag it, I can't remember how many times, I think 2 more times. Yeah, I think this is the last one. And we'll retard just slightly. And then big celebratory, messy 4 chord at the end. Kind of like a trash can if you've ever heard that term. So it's just out of time and makes the song feel like it's finally over. So I want to touch on a couple of things now that we've gotten through the arrangement of the song, how the chords go. You heard me talk about a 1 over 3 earlier. So how that pertains to bass and also the lower side of a piano, so the left hand on a piano. If you ever hear someone say 1 over 3, or another common one is 5 over 7, what it means is the first number is essentially, obviously there's exceptions to so many things and everybody's kind of got their own way of playing things, but from a theory perspective, what it means is a guitar should be able to play a 1 chord, which would be just a D major in the case of What a Beautiful Name, which the notes in that are D, F sharp, and A. That's how you build a D major. And what you're doing when you do a 1/3 is you're putting the 3 in the bass. So in the key of D, our 3 is F sharp. So as guitar or right hand stuff is playing a D chord, you're taking one of the notes out of that chord and you're playing an F sharp. You're playing a 3. In the case of a 5/7 in the key of D, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have an A over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have an A over C sharp. So it actually happens in the verse of this song. So right here, halfway through the verse, 6 walks 5/7 to 1. So that's just a great example of another name for those is called slash chords, because when you see them written down, if it's a 1/3, you'll see 1/3. So you can call those slash chords, and that's a breakdown of how those work. And then another thing I just wanted to go over is, especially in this genre, playing at church and leading worship, it's just really good to have nice, long, extended, connected notes. And one thing I'm always trying to do is I'm just trying to make sure like my notes last all the way to the following note, just to create lots of energy, fill up lots of space, but also, pick moments not to play, kind of like they do in this song. The first little bit of the song, there's no bass guitar at all. So to create some dynamics, pick moments when to play. But in this genre, when you do play, oftentimes you're just going to want mellow, nice, round is another way of describing it. Mellow, nice, round notes. So if it's really chill, sometimes I'll play up here. And when I said glissando earlier, that's a piano term. When they hit one note and they drag their finger or their hand across, glissando on bass would be like this, sliding like that. So sometimes a cool thing to do is pick a couple of moments in a song to glissando up to literally another octave of the note that you're playing for that moment. So if we're on the first bar of the chorus, maybe you play the 1 chord and glissando up to the 1 chord here, and then 5 chord, glissando down to the 5 chord. Mess with it. It's a good way of like learning your fretboard, but don't overdo it, because it'll just sound like you're slipping all over the place. But pick some moments and experiment with it. That's a really fun thing to do too. And another thing to be conscious of is when you're playing one note, like let's say I'm playing the D on the A string here, just make sure that these strings are muted. I mute it with my hand here, and then I usually mute, if I'm on the A string, I'm muting the E string with my thumb. And if you care about this at all, that's called a rest stroke. So if I put my thumb on the E string and I play on the A string and I follow through, see how my index finger is now back on the E string next to my thumb? We call that a rest stroke. So a rest stroke on the D string would look like this. So yeah, those are some great things to keep in mind and some helpful tips, and have a good time playing along to What a Beautiful Name.
What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is. The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a beautiful name it is. Nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name.